We here at the Sports History Network proudly partner with 26 podcasts, all revolving around the history of sports. But did you know that many of our hosts were sports history authors way before they started their shows? It's true. We've got Joe Ziemba, host of When Football Was Football, Joe Zagurski, host of Pro Football in the 1970s, Mark Morthier, host of Yesterday's Sports, Tommy Phillips, host of Lombardi Memories, and Scott Adamson, co-host of From the 55-Yard Line. All these authors have many books for you to choose from. To check them out, go to our website at sportshistorynetwork.com/sportshistorybooks. Pick up your copy today. Soundtrack provided by Kevin MacLeod of filmmusic.io.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello again, I'm John Gidley, and welcome to another trip into the football attic. Today we're going to talk about a blown opportunity for a game of the ages. On Monday night, December 3rd, 1990, the 10-1 San Francisco 49ers hosted the 10-1 New York Giants. They had each suffered unlikely losses the week before, thereby robbing us of what could have been an 11-0 versus 11-0 matchup. First, a little backstory. By 1990, the San Francisco 49ers were easily the gold standard of the National Football League. They had won each of the previous two Super Bowls, a 20-16 nail-biter over the Cincinnati Bengals, and more recently a 55-10 embarrassment of the Denver Broncos. Through the first 10 games of the 1990 season, the Niners proved that nothing had changed by starting the year 10-0. A few of those victories were close, but coming into their November 25th home game against the Los Angeles Rams, they had won their last two by a combined score of 55-13 over Dallas and Tampa Bay. San Francisco boasted the best passer-receiver duo in the NFL. That, of course, was Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. Additionally, the Niners had one of the best defenses in the league, led this season by Dave Weimer, who intercepted 7 passes, and Charles Haley, who recorded 16 sacks. If the 49ers were the model franchise, the New York Giants were not far behind, though they had their struggles to close out the 80s. After winning the Super Bowl in 1986, the Giants missed the playoffs in both 1987 and 88. In 1989, New York went 12-4, won the NFC East, and earned a first-round bye, but were upset in the divisional round at home by the Rams. Like the 49ers, the Giants also started 1990 with a 10-0 record. They were in Philadelphia on November 25th to face the Eagles. Coming into that game, the G-Men had won their last 3 by a combined 75-14 margin over the Colts, Rams, and Lions. The Giants' offense was solid, led by reliable quarterback Phil Simms and running back O.J. Anderson, but their strong suit was easily their defense. Their captain on that side of the ball was the man who many consider to be the greatest defender in NFL history, Lawrence Taylor. When the 1990 schedule came out in the spring, everyone's eyes immediately went to the Monday Night Football matchup scheduled for December 3rd, the Giants at the 49ers. A matchup of the top 2 teams in the NFC from the year before was bound to be big. The only way it could be bigger is if both were undefeated. A week before this matchup, each of them had a perfect 10-0 mark, each needing one more win to set this up as perhaps the biggest game in the history of Monday Night Football. But the Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Rams, the Giants and 49ers' respective opponents on November 25th, had other ideas. New York entered Philadelphia that day as 3-point favorites against an Eagles team that was riding a 4-game winning streak after starting the year 2-4. The Giants struck first when Phil Simms threw a 15-yard touchdown pass to Mark Bavaro. The Eagles then answered with 2 touchdowns of their own, a 49-yard pass from Randall Cunningham to Fred Barnett, and a 1-yard sneak by Cunningham. Shortly before halftime, Simms threw another touchdown pass to Bavaro, this one from 4 yards out, but kicker Matt Barr missed the extra point. Instead of a halftime tie, Philadelphia led 14-13. The second Simms to Bavaro hookup would be the last time the Giants scored that day. Roger Ruzek kicked a 39-yard field goal in the third quarter to give the Eagles some breathing room, and Philadelphia added 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns, a 6-yard pass from Cunningham to Calvin Williams, and a 23-yard pick six by Byron Evans. Final score, Eagles 31, Giants 13. New York was embarrassed by their arch rivals ahead of a crucial road game against the Super Bowl champions. A memorable play for Eagles fans from this game was on a run by Randall Cunningham. As he raced down the far sideline, Giants linebacker Pepper Johnson approached, and it looked as though Cunningham would be taken out. Instead, running back Keith Byers came to the rescue and blocked Johnson with so much force that the 250-pound linebacker went airborne, much to the delight of the crowd at Veterans Stadium. So the first domino had fallen. The Giants-49ers game would not be 11-0 versus 11-0. New York was now 10-1, but maybe San Francisco could still win and give the Giants an incentive to knock off the unbeatens. Later that afternoon, the Niners hosted their own arch rivals, the Los Angeles Rams. San Francisco was an 11.5-point favorite against a Los Angeles team that had fallen on hard times. After making the playoffs 7 times in the 1980s, the Rams suddenly found themselves at 3-7. LA was not to be underestimated, however. They had won each of their previous 2 regular season games at Candlestick Park, although they were embarrassed by the 49'ers in the 1989 NFC Championship game 30-3. The Giants' loss to the Eagles was surprising but not shocking. The 49'ers beating the Rams had to be a layup, right? Well, Los Angeles running back Cleveland Gary would have something to say about that. The second year back from Miami burst onto the scene in 1990 by scoring 15 touchdowns, 3 of them coming on this day. He caught a 22-yard scoring pass in the first quarter from fullback Buford McGee on a trick play and added a 10-yard run early in the second. After Joe Montana threw a 5-yard touchdown pass to John Taylor, McGee scored on a 6-yard run to make the halftime score 21-7 in favor of the Rams. The 49ers tried to climb back into the game in the third quarter, with Montana throwing a 23-yard touchdown pass to Harry Sidney and Mike Kofor kicking a 42-yard field goal to cut LA's lead to 4 points. Instead, in the fourth quarter, Gary scored on a 1-yard plunge for his 3rd touchdown of the game. And at the end of the day, Los Angeles had stunned San Francisco with a 28-17 victory. A Rams defense that has struggled all season intercepted Joe Montana 3 times. All of a sudden, what could have been the game of the century turned out to be just another matchup of 2 10-1 teams. That's not to say it wasn't a big game. It still was. It earned a 27 rating for ABC, their highest rated Monday night game since 1985, when the Miami Dolphins upset the undefeated Chicago Bears. After a scoreless first quarter, Matt Barr kicked a 20-yard field goal for New York, and Joe Montana threw a 23-yard touchdown pass to John Taylor. The halftime score was 7-3 in favor of the 49ers. What you have just heard was a complete scoring recap of this game. That's right, the final score was 7-3 San Francisco. Even though these were 2 very good offenses, the defenses were number 1 and number 2 in the NFL. So much for a game of the century. This would not be the last time that the Giants and 49ers met in 1990. They would play again on January 20th, 1991, in San Francisco, with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. In the interim, the Niners suffered another upset loss, a Week 16 home defeat to New Orleans. That was their only blemish in their final 5 games as they finished the year 14-2 for the 2nd consecutive season. As for the Giants, in a Week 15 home loss to Buffalo, a worst-case scenario occurred as Phil Simms broke his foot. Jeff Hostetler, who had only started 2 games in his NFL career, was now New York's starting quarterback. The Giants won each of their final 2 regular season games to finish 13-3, good enough for a first-round bye, but not enough for home field advantage. Both teams scored easy home victories in the divisional round. The 49ers beat Washington 28-10, and the Giants crushed Chicago 31-3. In their NFC Championship game matchup, New York defensive lineman Leonard Marshall decided that it was unfair for the Giants to be the only team playing with a backup quarterback. In the fourth quarter, with the Giants trailing 13-12, Marshall pummeled Joe Montana with a brutal sack from behind. Montana never saw him coming. Now San Francisco needed to rely on a backup quarterback as well, Steve Young. With the Niners rattled by Montana's injury, Hostetler was able to piece together a final drive to put the Giants in field goal range. As time expired, Matt Barr's 42-yard field goal snuck through the left upright, and New York advanced to the Super Bowl with a 15-13 victory. You probably know how that Super Bowl turned out. Giants 20, Bills 19, wide right. Thanks for joining me for this trip into the Football Attic, and I hope to see you again next week. In the meantime, check out all the other great podcasts here on the Sports History Network, and follow me on Twitter at JFG Sports. Until next time, this is John Gidley.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
We at the Sports History Network are thrilled to work with our sponsors and partners. With their support, we are able to produce great content for you. The other cool thing is most of our sponsors and partners offer discounts to pass along to our fans. So if you go to the sportshistorynetwork.com/sponsors page, you'll find Row 1, Royal Retros, Play Classic, Thrive Fantasy, and Mega Seats. All of these offer great discounts. Specifically at Row 1, you can save 15% at the Row 1 Gallery with the code SHN. The Row 1 Gallery includes over 5,200 reproduced sports history prints on a variety of sizes. of wood, metal, canvas, acrylic, or poster paper. The Row 1 shop also has thousands of more unique items with retro and historical designs dating back to 1876, including t-shirts and long-sleeve shirts, phone cases and mugs, blankets and pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. With Royal Retros, they're the king of throwbacks. They've got jerseys, shirts, hats, collectibles, and more from defunct leagues and other teams in those leagues. From Play Classic Games, it's sports simulation board games. Just use the code SHN for 10% off your first order. From Thrive Fantasy, it's a daily fantasy sports and esports app for player props. Use the promo code SHN for instant 100% match up to $100. And with Mega Seats, they're tickets with no fees. You can save up to 10% with the code SHN. So check them out on the sportshistorynetwork.com sponsors page. That's sportshistorynetwork.com/sponsors. The soundtrack is provided by Kevin MacLeod of filmmusic.io.